Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda. Well, obviously, you know that, but um, I'm so glad you're here. And today we're going to be talking about what to do when you have a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, and you are experiencing these big emotions, and something sets you off. Your kids do something, or your husband does something, and you just explode, or you respond in a way that you're not super proud of later and you feel super guilty. So this is a huge struggle for lots and lots of moms. It's about every mom I've talked to. So if that's you, I want you to know you're not alone, and I want you to know that I've experienced that, and every mom I've talked to has experienced this before. And I want to go through and just go step by step, and share a little bit about how we can deal with these blow ups when they happen, how we can reconnect with ourselves and forgive ourselves, how we can start being proactive and decrease the number of blow ups that we have, and how to start taking care of ourselves so that these things aren't constantly being an issue. And then we will do another video more on like the healing steps of the underlying issues as well, so that'll be further on down the line. But yeah, super excited that you're here. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh my goodness, my belly is like can't even fit on the screen. If you're watching this, I am 27 weeks pregnant with twins. I have a right now, and I have a 3-year-old. She just turned 3, and I have a 1-year-old. So I'll have 4 under 4 in 2 months. So it's going to be super exciting, and also terrifying, and also probably exhausting. But it's going to be one of those things. Like, motherhood is one of those things where it's like I never knew the gigantic range of emotions that encompassed motherhood. It can encompass like the complete exhaustion and like anxiety and fear and just like feeling shitty, all the way to like this beautiful, euphoric, loving everything about it. And it encompasses it all. And neither of those emotions anywhere on that range make you a good or a bad mom. It's just part of motherhood, and learning how to manage it all is all part of learning how to thrive as a mom and how you work as a mom. So anyways, that was just a little side note, the hormones talking. So today we're going to be talking about anger, frustration, exploding when we yell at our kids, or we're really impatient, or we do something we regret, when we're talking back to our kids or to our husbands or something like that after something. So let's just like set the tone here. Like, say, for example, I have a 3-year-old. So a 3-year-old is their emotions are all over the place, and they're very particular about what they want and what they don't want and how they want things. And it can be draining, and they can be very demanding, and they can be very emotional about their demands. And they have huge emotions. And that can be, if we're not really being conscious about how we're responding to them, can be a huge trigger in ourselves. Because for a lot of us, we have never had that safe place or learned that safe place of how to manage those emotions. So for example, think back to when you were a kid, and if you were ever angry, or if you were ever really frustrated and like acted out, for a lot of us it was like, go to your room, or you don't behave like that, or you're getting a spanking, or that's not appropriate. So a lot of it was a lot of shutting down emotions and not holding space for our true feelings. So when that comes up with our kids, it's actually bringing up a response in our bodies as well, of like, this is bad, this is wrong, I'm feeling as a mom, we don't behave like this. So it brings up a lot of things, both from ourselves and from our childhood. And it also, we also think that, oh, I'm not doing a good enough mom, or I'm not being a good enough mom, my kid shouldn't be behaving like this is wrong, this is bad. But I want to try to flip that script for us today. Okay, so um, let's start with, after you have this big angry outburst, or say you yell at your kids because they didn't listen to something you said, or for me, it's like if they're like fighting over a toy, that can be a real big trigger for me because they're all crying, and I'm like, no, like we gotta get along, and like somebody's like pulling somebody else's hair, and then no. So what we want to do is we want to start by creating a safe place for kids to share their emotions and to honor their emotions. And the way we do that is by first reconnecting with our own emotions and sharing how we process them. Because what we want to be able to do is create a safe place for us to have emotions and healthy ways of managing those emotions so that we can teach that to our kids. So the first thing is reconnecting after a blow up. So we want to restore our connection with our kids, and we're going to start there. So you have this blow up and you're feeling super guilty. So what do we do now? The first thing is, I want you to just like be really honest with your kids and say, hey, I was feeling really, really angry. I reacted in a way that I am not proud of. A better way for me to process my anger would have been to, and you can say something that maybe you would prefer you would have done. Maybe it's like take a break and take 10 deep breaths. Maybe it's get outside and like move my body. Maybe it's like sit down and tap. Maybe it's whatever process you want to do. Maybe it's screaming into a pillow. Maybe it's taking socks and like throwing them as hard as you can into the into the laundry basket to get that angry feeling out of your body. So you say like, next time, a better way for me to process this would be like this. And I can tell that my anger and how I responded made you feel scared, or made you feel nervous, or made you feel guilty, or made you feel this way. Or you could ask them, how did that make you feel? And then we want to be really, really clear that our emotions isn't their responsibility. So this was not your fault. I am responsible for my own emotions. I am sorry for yelling, and I'm sorry for screaming, and I'm sorry for acting out of anger. And I would like to, so then we just give them that apology and let them decide what they want to do with it, if they're ready to accept it, if they just need more time to process. And then we want to make an offer of connection. So just be like, hey, I would really like to read a book together now. Would you like to join me? Or I would really like to get outside and, it's snowing. So I'm like, build a snowman or whatever. Would you like to join me? So give them an opportunity to reconnect, because so much of parenting and everything is our ability to connect and have that relationship with our kids. So you always want to focus on reconnecting after. So the first part is really acknowledging your anger, your frustration, how you would prefer you would have handled it, apologizing, and then reconnecting. So that is like the basic framework for just handling when we are frustrated and when we're angry. And the whole purpose of this, and I repeat this over and over again, is so that we can create a safe place in our home where we can manage and learn to handle our emotions in a healthy way. We don't want to be stuffing them, because that's what a lot of us have learned. And that's what happens is we stuff them, we stuff them, we stuff them, and it either comes out in ways like anxiety or frustration or that, or in big, huge explosions when we get to our complete wits end. And that usually leaves us exploding over really small things. So again, we're connecting with our own emotions, expressing them in a healthy way, learning to express them in a healthy way, and forgiving ourselves when we don't always do that. And then always reconnecting with our kids. So let's go on to the next part. So forgiving yourself. This can be really hard, because after we blow up, we know we don't want to blow up at our kids. We know we don't want to be yelling. We know we don't want to be acting in aggressive ways with our kids. We know we want to be calm. We know we want them to feel safe. We know that we want them to feel loved. We know that we're overreacting in these ways, but we do it, right? We do it. And so how do we process that with ourselves? How do we forgive ourselves? As something that I have struggled with a lot as an adult is, how do I forgive myself? How do I see myself as still lovable, still worthy, still a good mom? So one thing that I'm just going to give you a few things to start asking yourself about these emotions that are coming up. So you feel angry, and anger is often a sign of either protected pain. You don't want to feel pain. So a lot of times in parenting, it brings up pain from our own childhood. So that anger might be showing up because as a child, we never learned how to handle anger in a healthy way, or we never learned how to be support. We never had that support as a child in how to handle our anger or how to handle big emotions. And we were just labeled as bad, that these are tantrums, that we need to stop doing that. And so that brings up pain when our own kids are doing it. So that's one reason you could be feeling angry. Another reason you could be feeling angry is that you have and the frustration is because you have a lot of unmet needs. Like super simple, like if you haven't been eating properly and you're hungry, you're going to have a shorter temper, and you're going to feel more impatient, and you're going to feel more on edge. And if you haven't slept in days, you're going to feel less patient and less relaxed and less calm, and little things are going to start really bugging you. So the first questions then is, what needs do I have that aren't being met? When did I eat last? When did I sleep last? How good has my sleep been? Am I getting enough rest? Am I getting enough exercise? Am I getting some alone time? And then what triggers have come up from my own past? So like how is my child acting triggering me? So that's again going back to like, hey, maybe I was never allowed to be angry as a kid. So now when I see my child be angry, I think right away that's bad and that's wrong, and we don't behave like that. And it's just like instant reaction, like, no, you don't behave like that. You go to your room. I'm going to yell at you. You got to behave. And we really want to have compassion on ourselves in that way. Have compassion on our bodies for the needs that maybe aren't being met, and having compassion on the little child inside of us who didn't have their emotional needs met. And then we're just going to take some time to honor that those things aren't being met. Just being like, hey, I'm really struggling right now. I'm not getting the sleep that I need. I'm not getting the food that I need. I'm hungry. And this is really hard because as a kid, I never learned how to express my anger. I never learned that it was okay to have big emotions about things that were really important to me or that kind of thing. Because let's see, like a 3-year-old, maybe they're really, really concerned about what color of plate they have. And so they have a meltdown if their plate isn't the right color, or you gave them the right color, you didn't give them the right color. And I'm not saying that you have to give them a different colored plate, but just helping them through that emotion of like, this isn't the right color, and giving them space for that, rather than saying like, hey, this, like, you're being silly, you're being childish, that's not how we behave, isn't creating a safe place for them to share their emotions. And what we want to actually do is create a safe place for them and show them how to handle that emotion and be like, hey, you're having a really hard time with this, and this is really frustrating for you, and this is how we could handle this frustration, and this is how we could handle that anger, and help them through that, rather than just being like, that's bad, you're bad, go to your room, I'm freaking out too. We want to be the leaders. We want to be the calm, confident leaders in our home. So here are some things that you can say to yourself as you're processing all of this and as you're forgiving yourself. I am not perfect. I am using this situation to get to know myself and my needs better so I can be the best mom possible. I forgive myself and am willing to do the work to heal this part of me. So just acknowledging that, just being like, I'm not perfect, but I'm going to use this information about how I handled this to see like, oh, maybe I do need more rest, or oh, maybe I do need to like sit down and actually eat something because I've been so focused on the kids I forgot to eat all day. Or maybe it's like, oh, this is bringing up some really painful stuff about my past that I need to process, and I'm just going to acknowledge that pain in myself right now and work on healing it. That stuff doesn't just heal overnight, but that's the beauty of motherhood, is we get to try over and over and over again every single day and keep showing up and not giving up and keep shining our beautiful light so that our kids can grow just as we are growing. So that is kind of just the basic framework for forgiving yourself, is like giving yourself grace for where you have needs that aren't being met, and taking responsibility of like healing those things and getting the care that you need. Okay, so proactive ways to decrease the number of blowups. So it's time to check in on your own needs. So now it's time to get proactive. So check in with yourself. When was the last time you had a shower? When was the last time you had food? When was the last time you drank a lot of water? When was the last time you had a good quality sleep? Are you still really tired? And just look at those things and like honor those needs. And then this is where we take massive responsibility for our own lives, is if those things, if we're really falling behind in a lot of those things, we have to get proactive and start planning those things in, looking after ourselves, because when we are feeling looked after, we are going to have that more patience, more energy, more compassion for our kids, because we aren't living in this complete depleted state. So first check in with your physical needs. And if there are certain needs that aren't getting met, how can you start setting that up? How can you ask for help in those areas? How can you use your support system to help you get those things done? For a lot of us, that brings up some different limiting beliefs, like maybe I don't have time, or maybe nobody is available to help me, or I don't have energy to do that. So then we really want to start taking a look at, where can I take just little tiny steps towards taking that time for myself and getting those needs met, because my body has done amazing work as a mom, and it needs to be looked after too, so that I can continue doing amazing work as a mom. And then we look at our emotional needs. Are you feeling super anxious? Are you feeling super overwhelmed? Are you feeling super exhausted, frustrated, lonely, sad, unappreciated? If you're feeling those things, those all um, have underlining meanings. That does None of them make you a bad mom. None of them make you any less of a mom. They're just showing up, and kind of like little signals of where you have unmet needs too, and where you can show yourself more compassion and start looking after yourself. So if you're feeling anxious, a lot of times anxious behavior is from not having your physical needs met. You need more self-care. Um, and it can also be a lot of fear-based stuff, like you're focused on a lot of fearful thinking, or fear of the future, or fear of not being enough, those kind of things, as well. So start just taking stock of like um, what emotions are coming up and what they mean. And I'll make a whole nother video about the different emotions and what their underlying needs are for you guys. So watch out for that video. So then we start being really proactive in our self-care. We start really being proactive in our physical needs and in our emotional needs. And this is super important, because taking care of you is part of taking care of your kids. So when you are being well taken care of, you can show up better. You can have more patience. You can have more empathy. You have more energy. You show up better because you are feeling better and you are getting your needs met as well. So that is super, super important, because we want to be able to show up in those instances and really be able to hold that space for our kids and their big emotions. So self-care being proactive in our self-care is how we can be proactive and decrease the number of times we're angry and having these outbursts. So again, it's always compassion and looking at where your needs aren't being met, and then figuring out a way where you can have your needs met. And now we're going to move on to how to handle anger and frustration in the moment when it rises up, because it is going to rise up. You are going to have moments of anger and frustration, and it's completely human. It's completely normal. It's just part of life. And to think that we're going to go through the rest of life and never feel angry is kind of unrealistic. So how do we handle it in a healthy way? Which is an awesome thing to practice, and takes a time to practice. Okay, so give yourself all the grace as you're practicing this. So how to handle it in the moment. You start feeling angry. Okay, your kid's freaking out because you gave them the wrong color sippy cup, or your kid's freaking out because you turned off the TV show, or your kid is refusing to put on their shoes and get ready to go, and you're going to be late and you're frustrated. So how do we handle it? So the first thing is observe what you're feeling in your body. I feel really angry. You want to just say that out loud. I'm starting to feel really angry. I feel hot in my body. I'm starting to feel sweaty. I feel like this big energy is just like rising up from my belly, and I want to explode. And just start saying that out loud, because it's super good for our kids to start hearing how we are experiencing anger and how it's affecting us. And it brings that awareness to them as well. Like when they start feeling those things, they can be like, oh, I'm feeling angry. And then, like whatever, like I'm feeling, my heart is pounding, and my fists are clenching, and I'm angry. So you just want to start saying that out loud, just saying it out loud and saying those things. And it's going to feel really weird because we've never done it before, right? So start doing that. Then you're going to say, I need a break. I am going to go over here and scream into the pillow, or I'm going to go over here and I'm going to practice my tapping because I know that helps me calm down. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to throw these socks into this basket to get my angry energy out, or I'm going to whatever works for you. I'm going to take 10 deep calming breaths and let the anger pass. I'm going to give myself space to calm down and honor the anger. Okay, so you're going to explain how you feel, tell them the plan, do it, and that's what you can do. Yell into the pillow, tap, throw those socks. When I am calm, I'd like to come back and talk about this. When I am calm, I'd like to come back and talk about why we can't have a show anymore, or why that's the only color of sippy cup we have, or when I'm calm, I'll help you with your shoes and we'll get ready to go, kind of thing. Okay, so always having that game plan. When I'm calm, we'll sit down and eat together, that kind of thing. Would you like to join me? And again, it's that invitation to reconnect with you, to let them know that they are still loved, they are still important to you, and that we can have big emotions, process them, and then still have that connection with each other, and that connection is of the utmost importance to you, and that they are important to you. So yeah, I hope that's super helpful. Okay. The next thing is, why is self-compassion and our relationship with ourselves so important in these situations? Because, I talk a lot about honoring the emotions and creating a safe place and all of this stuff. So the reason is because when we have compassion on ourselves, and are able to hold space for our own emotions, then we're also able to do that for our kids. So our ability to acknowledge, hold space, and manage our own emotions is the foundation for how we allow, acknowledge, and create space for our kids' own emotions, and for them to process their emotions, and ultimately give them just that living example of how to be human, how to have emotions, and how to do it in a healthy way. So here are some things to start thinking about. It's like, how were you taught to handle anger? Probably, if you're like me, anger wasn't an appropriate emotion in our home. So if you were angry, you were bad. So you weren't allowed to have anger. That was how I was raised. So especially if you're a girl, you're really not allowed to be angry in some homes. So I never ever had to learn how to be angry or how to process it in a healthy way. I just learned how to stuff it because that wasn't appropriate, and I wasn't accepted if I was angry. I wasn't following the family rules if I was angry. So that's important to start asking yourself and to start looking back on, and start learning healthier ways to do it. And to me, it's like, oh man, now I'm an adult and I have to learn how to process anger. That's something we should learn as kids. And that's awesome because we get to do that. It's tough, yeah, but we get to do that and help our kids learn healthy ways to do it. How are you taught to handle conflict? This is another one too, because oftentimes we can see ourselves in conflict with our kids. It's time to turn off the TV. And then it's like, no, I don't want to turn off the TV. Yes, it's time to turn off the TV. So a lot of times we're seeing this conflict as a battle. Whereas maybe we could flip that a bit and start seeing it as learning how we learn to communicate, how we create space for each other's emotions, how we create boundaries with our kids. and this is super helpful too, like just being able to see, say with the TV thing, like, hey, I see that you really, really, really wanted to watch that show. I see that it's really hard for you right now. I'm going to sit here while you kind of process it. But we, like, TV time is over, and like that's the end of the discussion, but I'm still holding space for you, that you feel really frustrated about it, you're feeling sad about it, you're feeling disappointed that you don't get to go watch your show, and I'm going to honor all of those emotions. um, so just being able to hold that space. So learning healthy ways to process these emotions gives us the tools that we need to share with our kids so that they can process their emotions in a healthy way. All emotions and behaviors are meaningful and valid. So depending on how you were raised, some emotions might be good and some emotions might have been bad. Like my example was like anger wasn't a good emotion. So if you feel angry, then that's bad. You're bad. But I believe that all emotions come up for a reason. They have something to teach us, and that however we're feeling is valid. It can be honored. It doesn't mean that if our kid is screaming that we're bending over backwards to make them not mad. It means that we're helping them create that space and learn how to handle that emotion for them. So yeah, that's basically how to handle angry outbursts, how to prevent them, how to forgive yourself, how to look after yourself, all condensed into one little video. Obviously, I'm going to have more of like healing the underlying causes of our emotions and anger in other videos and in our coaching calls. If you have any questions, bring them up to me. I'm here for you. And I'm so proud of you for being here, for doing the work, for showing up for yourselves, looking after your mental health, because the healthier and happier you are, the healthier and happier your home is and your kids are going to be. And I want to see you thriving. I want to see you thriving. I want to see your kids thriving. And I just want you to be so proud of yourself for showing up and doing the work. Have a good day. Bye.